Going to be an exciting afternoon. I'd like to tell you a little bit what we have done in the transport sector, in particular with the Global Climate Action Agenda that I had the pleasure of being a member of, together with Ahmed, and Ahmed will elaborate a bit more on what I'm going to say. But basically, we wanted, since we had been invited to make this COP a COP of action, we wanted to deliver something in COP22. And actually what we have delivered is what we've called an actionable vision. Maybe I can get the first slide. An actionable vision of transport decarbonization. In other words, if we try to go through an exercise that I could consider as a backcasting exercise. Okay, it doesn't matter, I can do without that. Okay, anyway. If we are to have a zero net emission economy in 2060, what do we have to do between 2020 and 2060? So basically what we have tried to do, oh yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to take this one. An actionable vision of transport decarbonization. And basically what we said is that we have 8 priorities that we have to tackle. One is about the transformation of cities and in particular urban mobility, and we'll come to that. The second is about having a new set of energies. Transport is very much dependent on energy, as you know. Today we depend 96% on oil, so we have to change that. Third is about modal efficiency and intermodality efficiency at the same time. We'll talk a little while. But there are plenty of other things that we need to do. In particular, we have to make sure that we have a look at supply chains. Transport in business is extremely important. This is a growing area, and we have a specific action in this respect. It's clear that we can avoid also certain unwanted travels. We have to make sure that if we put the emphasis on the rural, on the urban world, we don't forget the urban world. And there are specific solutions which can be developed. I will have a word on that. Very important to insist on adaptation, and I'm sure that Ahmed will once again deliver a message on that. And in the end, we need to have a set of economic instruments, a set of regulations which are absolutely necessary to put us on the right track. Now, what I would like to say, if you want, is that when we look at all these facets, all these priorities, these 8 priorities, there are certain elements which are extremely important and which are very much linked to the discussions of this afternoon. If we are to transform cities, it is very clear that we need at least 2 things. One is to be able to go towards more electromobility. The other one is to make sure that we can develop specific solutions for cities, in particular door-to-door solutions. Now, if we are to move toward electric mobility, it's very clear that we can say that today we have some solutions. I drive electric every day, okay? So I know what the benefits and the pitfalls of going electric are today. But what I would urge, because we're going to talk about innovation, is make sure that when we talk about electric vehicles, electric trucks, and so forth, we insist on something which is always forgotten, which is that even an electric vehicle consumes energy. And we never talk about how much energy an electric vehicle consumes. My own electric vehicle consumes way too much energy. Way too much to be a solution for the future. So it has to be improved. And I think that these afternoon sessions will talk about what is going to be improved. I consume in real world conditions basically 22 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, which is exactly the capacity of my battery. So I can't go further than 100 kilometers. Okay? So we have to make sure that when we talk about solutions, we really get into the details of the solutions that we have today and how we need to update them to make sure that there are real solutions for the world of tomorrow. I'm sure that this is quite important. Absolutely need, at about the same horizon, for biokerosene and so multiple applications, we need to have a full industry of sustainable biofuels. Extremely important to go into the details. And that is the value of what we have done with this macro roadmap, which is to say, if we are to go from today, let's say 2020 to 2060, and we phase the transitions, these are the things that we have to do together in a synergistic way, in a way which is going to create markets which will be big enough to to make sure that the cost of transition is going to be acceptable by our societies. So I think it's extremely exciting to go from the economy we have today to this net zero emission economy that the Paris Agreement calls for, but we have to visualize how we're going to get there. And I think that by going through this exercise of delivering a macro roadmap about how to get there, we have basically aligned the efforts of the transport community in ways which we think are going to be extremely productive. The same way, in cities, I was talking about door-to-door solutions, there are plenty of solutions. And in particular, when we think about the future of autonomous vehicles, this is an absolute market, which is close at hand, and that should be one of the first applications for autonomous vehicles. In the same way, we can't imagine having ultra-emission zones without clean last-mile delivery systems. Once again, extremely important to put the emphasis on these solutions, which are the ones, and there are plenty that we absolutely need to make sure that we transform the landscape of mobility. I will go with some of the things like rural solutions. We often talk about the urban world as being the one where we need to put the emphasis, and that is true, but we should not forget that by 2030, even if 30% only of the population would continue living in non-urban areas, there are specific solutions for them, and in particular decentralized energy, decentralized electricity generation is certainly one of the major elements that the rural world can count on to make sure that it develops its own solutions. So I want to really insist in this introduction to say, I think in the transport sector, together with Ahmed and the representatives from the French government and the Moroccan government, we have put the emphasis on trying to give an outline of where we want to go. And I think that this afternoon's sessions will help us dig into the specific requirements that we absolutely need. So I'm going to stop here, and I'll be more than happy to continue during the discussion session. Thank you very much.
For opening up this session, a whole afternoon on low carbon transport mobility solutions. It's quite exciting. Those of you who've ever studied my CV, I spent 20 years running transport companies, so it's one of my personal hobbies. Kind of cool to see where this sector will go. Low carbon or low emission solutions conference is all going to get real now, and what are the solutions? And they're desperately needed, as Patrick said, in this sector. I'm very happy to see actually that this sector has stepped up so much to the Paris Agreement. I know that, I think it was on Friday and on Saturday, a ministerial meeting, one of the Global Action Agenda themes has become transport and mobility, and there Patrick, together with PPMC, has launched this idea for the global macro roadmap, and we from WBCSD, the World Business Council, strongly support that initiative. The world needs to have a roadmap, a global roadmap to start with, and then a regional roadmap to quickly follow, because we all know it, the transport and mobility sector combined is emitting about 7.7 gigatons of greenhouse gases as we speak. In business as usual scenarios that may double to 13 or 14 gigatons. If we listen to science, we need to be at 2.5 gigatons in 2050 and somewhere around 0 in the later part of the second half of this century. And any system that does 7.7 to 14 unchanged to move down to 2.5 and then to 0 understands that the transformation is going to be massive and well beyond just thinking about replacing one car type with another alternative drive fuel. It's basically going to take a system rethink. So I want to applaud the initiative by PPMC, the attention it got in the Global Action Agenda by the high-level champions. And I think it's really something that everybody in this industry, and I assume some of you are in it for being here, should really want to use that as a platform to build our visions on, to benchmark our solutions against, and to move forward. I think what I've said in every speech I've made so far in this room is, you will see that business will be the key implementation partner. It will have the research and development, it will bring new technologies forward, and it will have the capabilities to scale them and to market them to great extent. I think the 8 themes, I don't know if I can find that picture, probably not, because the pictures are all mixed up. Yeah, this one. The 8 themes that PPMC has selected for this global macro roadmap are pretty all-encompassing when you look at transport or mobility sec. And from my point of view, I would stress that it's important that in each of these 8 blocks, or possibly as a 9th block, we should also add what does this mean for sustainable lifestyles, for customer demands. Because it's one thing to develop a new technology vehicle, it's another thing to get the consumers to want those vehicles. You know, we have seen that already today. Electric vehicles are proven technology, but in most countries the sale will not reach 1%. And why is that? And partially that is because we need infrastructure, charging points and the likes, but a big part of it also we need to change the mindsets of people. And that should not be forgotten. The second thing that we should not forget in all these analyses, what are the impacts on jobs? Because the car industry, the mobility industry, the transport industry, at wider scale, is a very, very intense, labor-intense industry. And in some cases it may be good news, in other cases it may be bad news. You know, I'll give you an example, self-driving cars, autonomous trucks. If you put a row of trucks in an autonomous driving mode onto the highway and you develop the software really well, there's a strong case to be made that road safety will go up, emissions might drop down by as much as 40%, but you will also put a couple of million people out of a job who have been truckers all their lives, and the question is, what alternative jobs are available for these type of people? And if the answer is none, or we don't care, then the next election surprises are just around the corner for us to wait. And so we must include these type of themes into roadmaps that we're going to take forward. If you take it pure from the decarbonizing of transport or mobility point of view, then I think there are 4 questions that need to be answered by business and by people that think about technology. The first one is, what can we do about efficiency of current cars, reducing emission standards and the likes. The second step is, well, what about alternative fuels, alternative drive trains, electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, and whatever else is around the corner. The third thing is, what about the broader mobility systems and the infrastructure, intermodal connections, and these type of questions will be coming to the fore. And the fourth question is an even wider circle. What about the power system, the electricity system that's going to feed this electrification of all these new uses of electricity in the mobility space? And I think from a business roadmap point of view, those are going to be the core 4 questions that we need to answer. The World Business Council has started quite considerable amounts of work with the companies involved. You know, low carbon freight, low carbon fuels, sustainable mobility indicator frameworks have been developed. We're working on sustainable lifestyles models and redefining value, which, you know, for mobility may well mean carbon pricing as a tool, carbon pricing, road pricing, better economic incentives to steer consumer behavior are all on the agenda. We will put it together in a input into this global macro roadmap, which comes from the private sector. So we'll try to encourage as many companies as we can find around the world to be part of that, to look at these 4 questions and eventually to the 8 questions that PPMC will address, and then quickly be part of this global macro roadmap as an overarching umbrella to know where we're all going. Business can do that, but you heard me stumble, which is always a good indicator to where is a person's heart, because business is really also keen to see with existing technologies today, what can we do tomorrow? It's great to have academic studies towards 2050, but business needs to earn a living today as well. And it's good to know that in an enormous amount of cases, technologies are available today, they're just not scaling up fast enough. There's lots of alternative fuel solutions out there. There is electric vehicle solutions out there. But what are the blocks that we need to remove to get them up there quickly? And also there, I'm pleased to see that the PPMC on this chart, it's not only about 2050 and beyond, it's also looking at 2020 quick wins. And I think we as private sector people should really mobilize ourselves to make sure that the solutions that we have available are recognized in this study, because this study will be used in future COPs for conversations with policymakers on the policies needed to decarbonize this world. So this afternoon is really your opportunity to engage. There's going to be conversations around low carbon fuels, low carbon freight, alternative drivetrains. So we're going to get really into solutions. You'll see examples of companies who are working on solutions. If you ask the right questions, you might even get them to talk about what is not yet working and what kind of help do you need. But let's make it that type of conversation. This world needs to completely transform. Their technology base is rich enough for that transformation to happen. Now we just need to get focused, get real, and start change. Thank you.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Je vais parler en français pour ce qui me concerne. Bon, c'est la langue de Molière étant quand même une belle langue, quelque part il faut aussi un peu l'honorer. Je voudrais d'abord rendre hommage au travail que j'ai eu le plaisir et l'honneur de partager avec l'équipe transport qui a travaillé pendant de nombreuses semaines, de nombreux mois et des journées très longues pour arriver à des résultats extrêmement concrets, à une vraie vision sur tous les secteurs du domaine transport qui ont été abordés. Aucun n'a été laissé pour compte. Et tout cela intégré dans une roadmap globale, dans un plan d'action global qui est résumé dans des documents extrêmement bien faits, un document bien fait en français et en anglais à votre disposition, et qui résume en clair l'action transport engagée, à engager, et parmi les conclusions parmi aussi les décisions qui ont été prises, c'est de mettre en place un follow-up, un suivi de ces décisions, de leur mise en œuvre entre les COP, en instrumentalisant aussi, en modélisant même, on en a parlé, la roadmap, la vision globale, de manière à en mesurer les effets en matière de changement climatique et d'émissions de carbone. Donc pour cela, c'est encore une fois, merci à l'équipe transport. Des choses extrêmement concrètes sont engagées. Parmi les domaines, c'est la mobilité urbaine. C'est quelque chose d'extrêmement concret qui est là véritablement pour apporter une contribution aux émissions de carbone et à la pollution dans les villes. Et ce, véritablement dans une logique de durabilité. Quelques mots quand même sur ce que nous avons aussi au niveau du Maroc proposé. Le royaume du Maroc a proposé, engagé un certain nombre d'initiatives. Je ne vais en citer qu'une. C'est le Maroc a proposé, et je remercie encore une fois mes collègues du transport d'avoir soutenu cette idée et de l'avoir officialisée, à savoir la création d'une association africaine, d'une association continentale entre les pays africains, pour laquelle nous avons déjà des retours positifs de quelques des premiers pays africains, d'organismes bancaires comme la Banque africaine de développement, pour constituer une association dont la vocation est d'apporter le support, l'ingénierie, l'information au sens market survey, au sens recherche appliquée, à l'ensemble des pays africains dans le domaine de la mobilité durable. Aider chaque pays, partager l'information et nous aider entre nous pour faire les bons choix. Pour faire les bons choix de stratégie, les bons choix politiques en matière de transport, les bons modèles, les bons choix de technologie. Ce sont des décisions dimensionnantes à l'échelle des États et nous avons jugé, nous avons pensé, et quand je dis nous, c'est plusieurs acteurs africains de nationalités différentes, qu'en mutualisant nos réflexions, eh bien, ma foi, nous allons maximiser nos chances de faire les bons choix. D'où l'intérêt de créer cette association étatique entre pays africains. Et je lui souhaite d'ores et déjà longue vie. Nous allons tout faire pour la soutenir et nous nous mettons au travail au lendemain de la COP entre pays africains pour rendre réalité cette initiative. Je voudrais toucher quelques mots sur un sujet assez transversal, à savoir la finance climat. Le transport a besoin d'être financé. On parle d'infrastructures de transport, on parle d'investir dans des nouveaux modèles, on parle d'investir dans de la mobilité durable, de la mobilité électrique, d'utiliser des avions correctement, qui émettent moins de CO2, etc. Et tout cela nécessite des investissements et des financements. J'ai été extrêmement étonné de constater, au niveau des négociations finance-climat, que 85% étaient alloués à l'atténuation et que 15% uniquement est alloué à l'adaptation, c'est-à-dire aux pays du Sud. On est loin des accords, ou en tout cas des intentions déclarées à Paris. Le moins qu'on puisse dire, c'est que c'est décevant et que ça interpelle. C'est une décision unilatérale qui, en tout cas, laisse peu de chances de succès à beaucoup d'initiatives des pays du Sud. Aujourd'hui, nous avons des technologies qui sont à notre porte. Par exemple, la mobilité électrique. Elle est applicable maintenant. L'Europe est en train de massivement déployer des infrastructures électriques pour basculer et aller vers la mobilité électrique. Nous le savons, 2030 est le point d'inflexion au niveau des voitures électriques, en tout cas au niveau de la production des voitures électriques. À ce point d'inflexion, le monde produira plus de voitures électriques que de voitures thermiques. Et alors, quand je vois ces répartitions financières, qu'est-ce qu'il faut comprendre? Faut-il comprendre que les voitures thermiques en Europe, une fois que la mobilité électrique sera suffisamment et largement déployée, commencera à l'être massivement, sont destinées à descendre au sud? Qu'est-ce qu'il faut comprendre par cette décision au niveau de la finance climat? Je regrette d'être un peu provocateur, mais c'est quelque chose qui m'a profondément marqué et que je trouve profondément injuste. Donc je ne pouvais pas ne pas le signaler. C'est important, c'est une décision qui va peser son poids sur la suite des actions au niveau des pays du Sud quant à la mise en œuvre des mesures en faveur du climat. Et le transport, bien évidemment, sera directement concerné. Voilà, je vous remercie.